Now, in this part of the test, you're going to talk about something together for about 2 minutes. I'm going to describe a situation to you. Some students are going to a capital city in the winter. Here are some activities they could do there. Talk together about the different activities they could do in a capital city in the winter and say which would be the most interesting.
Well, there are lots of things to do in capital cities, aren't there? I suppose what the students choose to do depends on the weather, doesn't it? It looks quite cold in some of these pictures.
If it's cold, I like the idea of ice skating. It looks fun, doesn't it?
Yes, I think they would have a good time, but I think you can ice skate in lots of different towns and cities. I don't think they should travel to a capital city just to go ice skating.
I agree. Taking photos of the city outside. It looks cold, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. I wouldn't like to spend time taking photos outside in the winter. It looks icy. Oh look, this is a shopping center. It looks big. I think the students should go there to buy something, maybe some souvenirs from the trip.
Me too. It looks fun, but it might get crowded.
What's that? Is it a museum?
Yes, it is. That could be interesting, I suppose. I'm not that keen on museums.
Me neither, but I think it's a good idea for the students to learn new things. They should go to at least one museum when they're there. What do you think about eating Chinese food?
I think that's a great idea. Chinese food is popular with students. All my friends like it. I think the students should look around the shops, go to a museum and eat a Chinese meal.
I agree. They'll keep warm.
Have you ever been to a different city in winter?
Yes, I have been to New York. It was beautiful. There was a snowfall every day, and it was freezing. But it's a beautiful city.
What about you, Ezgi?
I've never been abroad in winter, but I've been to lots of cities in my country. I would like to go to New York though. It looks nice in the films.
What do you think students would like to visit in your city?
There are lots of things to visit. If people come in winter, I don't think it's a good idea to go to the beach. But the buildings and galleries are nice to visit. It's quite mild here compared to New York, so the winter is a good time to visit.
What about you, Pablo?
In my city there's a lot to see if you like art. And of course, you can go on a tour of the best football club in the world.
Pupils Book, Unit 9, page 110. Lost in the Hills. Kevin, Mitzi and James were in the Photographic Society at school. At the end of February, there was a photography competition. They all wanted to enter the competition as a team, but they needed some really good photographs. Mitzi suggested photographs of people working. If we go into town, we can take some photographs of street cleaners, police directing traffic, people selling things. Neither of the boys liked the idea. If we take photographs of people we don't know, they won't like it, said James. He thought they could go to the zoo and take photographs of the animals there, but Mitzi didn't like that idea. Everyone takes animal photos, she said. We need something more original. Then Kevin had an idea. If we climbed up into the hills, I bet we could get some really interesting photographs of the wildlife. James thought about it. At last he said, "That would be a really good idea if it weren't so cold." "The cold doesn't matter," said Kevin. "That's what warm jackets and scarves are for." So they agreed to go up into the hills and take photographs the next Saturday. On Friday it was really cold. James decided to check the weather forecast for the next day on his new smartphone. The news wasn't good. Low temperatures were forecast, and there was a possibility of snow. James called Kevin and told him. But Kevin wouldn't listen to him. "If it snows, we'll get great photographs," he said. "Don't tell Mitzi, though. She hates the snow." "You're right," said James. "It won't be dangerous. They're only hills, not the Himalayas." But the next day, as the three children stood looking up at the hills, they could see grey clouds in the distance. It wasn't raining, though, and it didn't feel very cold, so they started climbing. In the first hour, they took lots of photographs. But then the weather changed. It grew dark, and it started to snow. "I'm freezing," said Mitzi. "Let's go home now." But by then it was snowing very hard, so they decided to wait under some trees until the snow stopped. But the snow didn't stop. It got worse. "Come on, we'd better go down," said Kevin. They started to climb down, but it was very hard to see. They walked and walked, but they couldn't find their way down. They were lost. "We're just going round in circles," said Kevin. "Have you got your phone, James? We'd better call for help." Urgently, James got his phone out, but it didn't work. "If we climb up the hill to the top, it might work there," he said. So they climbed back up to the top of the hill. "I wish my phone would work," said James. "Why didn't I listen to you?" Kevin said to James. "Why didn't we pay attention to the weather forecast?" Mitzi heard him. "You mean you knew there was a storm forecast?" she shouted. "Yes," said Kevin. He felt very guilty. "Shush," said James. "The telephone's working." He called his parents, who called the police. An hour later, the children heard a whap, whap, whap. It was a helicopter. The boys jumped up and down and started waving to attract attention. At that moment, Mitzi raised her camera and took a photograph of the helicopter coming down through the snow to rescue them. And that was the photograph that won first prize in the competition.